We have the next session with our 3 ambassadors who will tell you what Japan is and who can be the best. I would like to request here Ambassador Wadhwa, Ambassador Verma, and Ambassador Srivastava. 3 of them, they don't need any introduction, and I don't have to ask any question. I would like to ask them what they want to say, they want to convey, because this is all about India-Japan. And I would like to start from Ambassador Wadhwa. Here's the mic, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I think I said the gist of what I wanted to say before. This is a session about, it's about policy and diplomacy. So I did want to say a little bit about the difference between the two. Policy, I think, is foreign policy, and foreign policy is based on your strategies and your actions in your relations with a country. So in the case of Japan, our foreign policy is, of course, decided by the cabinet, the prime minister, and the Ministry of External Affairs. But actually, it's based on certain objectives. And I must say, in the case of Japan, these objectives are for the mutual good of both countries. I mentioned how it was one of the best relationships that there exists. It's called the Special Strategic and Global Partnership between the two countries. These look just like words to you, but what it means is that we have collaborations in every possible field. I understand now there are about 70-odd platforms where we discuss different issues. We have platforms of interaction, which starts with the Prime Minister of India at the top. So I must tell you that there's something called annualized Prime Minister level summits or head of government level summits. And in India's case, we have had it with Russia over the years, and the only other country we do it with is now Japan. But for Japan, the only country that they have this institution where the prime ministers meet every year, or try to meet every year, is with India, which shows how special this relationship is. So when you look at what diplomacy and the objectives of what we're trying to do is across the fields. One is, of course, political. So that is to build constituencies in both countries, particularly for us as diplomats, to build constituencies in Japan, where we're able to explain where we come from, what India is about, to get a constituency of people who care for this relationship and invest in the relationship. The second thing is the economic, which is extremely important. We heard, in fact, we had a session where we talked about the economic relationship. And I must tell you, this is the really important thing in the sense that the complementarities between our two countries are so huge. And what do I mean by complementarities? One is, of course, we're both democracies. But the other thing, when you come to the economic field, is the fact that if you look at Japan, what is Japan's strengths? It has technology, it has finances, it is looking for large markets. What does India have? India has a demography, it's looking for investments, and it has the large market that the Japanese are seeking. And therefore, this is a very, very very suitable fit for two countries to work together. There's another thing that perhaps the relationship, the economic relationship, hasn't gone to where it should be going. And this is where I think we as diplomats had to find out what the issues are, and to look at how to resolve the problem. So we do a lot of problem solving too. But I'll quickly go into 2 other areas, and I think which is important, science and technology. I'm sure my colleagues on either side will talk about it. But people-to-people relations, extremely important. We have an event like this which really fosters people-to-people relations. And what is that about? That is about understanding and appreciating each other. We do have a civilizational connect. Our civilizational connect is Buddhism, it's Hinduism. I'm sure people here who know both countries know that if you go to Japan, you will find temples not only to Buddha, but you will also find temples to Benzaiten, as they call it, Ma Saraswati. You will find temples even to Ganesha, who's called Kangiten. So there is so much that there is between us at the civilizational level. And one thing is to be able to really, I think, spread the word more about this connection and work at the level of people and promote tourism and so on. I leave it at this. I'm sure there are many other aspects, but I will leave it to my worthy colleagues and former colleagues, I must say. I'm retired. They still give inputs into policy. I just talk.
So as Ambassador Wadhwa said, and after that, Ambassador Verma was there. But that time, unfortunately, Corona hit. Definitely. But how difficult was it? Definitely, you have to take it from there where she left. But how difficult was it at that period, Corona period in Japan, being in Japan?
Okay, let me start with a disclaimer. Though I'm a serving foreign service officer at the moment, I'm not talking on behalf of the government, but in my second role, I'm chairman of RIS, which is India's premier economic think tank. That hat I still have, and I can speak on that behalf. On Corona, it was a difficult time, but it also gave us opportunity to reassess our connectivity. And that also provided us the basis to reconnect non-physically and take our relationship forward. So yes, there were some lapses in the beginning. We were not able to connect that well, but later on, it went off fairly well. As far as the conclave is concerned, the very way it has been categorized is Connect India-Japan, which means there is something to get connected and there is something which is disconnect. Only then we can talk about Connect India-Japan. From my vantage point as the head of a think tank, I see a lot of things which are disconnected, some of things which are broken, and therefore we need to fix them. It's not easy. When we look at India, that is Bharat, we look at India following a multi-aligned foreign policy. Whenever you have multi-aligned foreign policy, there are competitions in your relationship. So if I have resources and bandwidth for 10 good relationships, there will always be 20 candidates for good relationships. Which 10 do I choose? I choose those which has least latency. I choose those which has more momentum. I choose those which are converged through our psychology, through our psyche. India and Japan are incredible partners, and I echo what Ambassador Wadhwa just said. But then there was a time when the shelf life of a proposal or technology was more than 5 years. Today it is less than 18 months. So if we continue to be patient as always, we will lose the game. So therefore, my only request to the audience, who I know are influencers in their own ways, is to request them to suggest fast-tracking the communication, fast-tracking the connectivity. Today, no one is going to wait till eternity to see a project implemented. There are projects, I won't name them, and I was also part of that somewhere in the middle. Ma'am was a part of that in the beginning. So if a project which Indians think can be done in 2 years, it takes 11 years, then certainly there is some disconnect. And that connect needs to be rectified, and we can move forward in that direction. The proposals which are there in front of the two countries, they take a huge amount of time to get fructified. By then, either of the sides may lose patience and say that, look, this is too much of work, let us move to some other country, which will be ready to commit mistakes, may not be perfect, but at the same time will be more result-oriented. So therefore, we have to identify our disconnects. It's good to know that there is a huge base for improvement. There is a historical, there is a cultural, there is technological connect. India receiving the very first ODA by Japan. It's itself a huge testament to what Japan is doing in India. But at the same time, we have to look at the new realities. We have to look at new India. We have to look at new Japan, and then try to connect them rather than just saying the right things. I'm a diplomat, but not that hat at the moment. So we need to very clearly identify the gaps, see the best synergy possible, and then move forward. Before I hand it back to Nupur, third country projects had been a very darling concept between the two countries. It has hardly taken off. And the reason is that we are not able to converge on the philosophies of the project. We are not able to converge on the modalities of the project on the same table. These are the disconnects, and therefore Connect India-Japan Conclave is there. So let's think a little about it so that we are strategic. We know we are good friends, and frank conversation can only happen if we are good friends. So let's be frank, let's be upfront, let's try to see what we can do together for the good of both the countries and, if possible, for the global good.
Thank you so much, sir. And as usual, it is a pleasure to listen to you always. And for everyone, my first interview in my life was sir's interview, actually. So that's why I'm here. So definitely from there, Ambassador Srivastava, you worked as a Deputy Chief of Mission, and then, of course, you changed to another country. But we would love to know, but you are very much associated with Japan. And as you said last time, after coming back, like, Japan is not disconnected. I'm going to all the Japanese events. So how do you see how you can take it forward from Ambassador Verma, what he said?
So first of all, let me thank you to invite me for giving this privileged platform to share the platform with the role model and colleague with Ambassador Verma. I was 1.5 years together as his deputy. So it's a great feeling to come back to the platform and talking about India-Japan. Japan is one country that it never leaves you once you live there. You, as a tourist and as a person who lives there, there is two different experiences. So never compare what I am going to say to somebody who has just done a tourism trip. I had done that before as a tourist, and then I went as on a posting, and it changed my life, my perspective towards life. There's a word called 𝗚𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗵𝗂𝗍. Professor Chawla is here, so he will bear me. 𝗚𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗵𝗂𝗍 is the spade work, and I'm a civil engineer. I used to walk, like go on drives and walk and see construction sites, things are going on, nothing is coming up. And I was wondering, some kind of labor strike is there? Why these things are not coming up? Japan is supposed to be very, very efficient. Suddenly, after 4 or 5 months, 10-story building will be there in 1 month. The 𝗚𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗵𝗂𝗍, the spade work, they do a lot of work on foundations so that when the earthquake happens, nothing falls down. That's what applies to Japanese thinking. So I think that Mr. Jan mentioned about that you are knowledgeable about Japan, you have been there. You know that you have to be at it. It's a quality relationship, it's not a quantity relationship. You have to build on that over a period of time. And once you have done that, it's very difficult to get out from there because it is done with a lot of due diligence. And I've seen the story of Suzuki, the story of Honda, the story of Hitachi and 𝗍𝗎𝐸. It's not talked about too much. But look at our command and control system of Andhra Pradesh or of Ahmedabad. They are being done by 𝗍𝗎𝐸 and Hitachi of the world. We don't talk about digital partnership so much. If there is one country with whom India has a very strong digital partnership, it is Japan. And it was actually established on 28th of October 2018 during the visit of Prime Minister Modi. Since then, before COVID hit, 250 startups of India had been picked up by Sogo Soshas of Japan. I heard this term that 1,500 companies of Japan are working in India. This number should grow. But we have to understand Japanese economy. 7 Sogo Soshas, Marubeni, Mitsubishi, Mitsui, Sojitz, Itochu, Sumitomo, and Toyota Shusho, these 7 actually create something called Keiretsu ecosystem. If those 7 are there in your country, you don't require 15,000. Because those 7 ensure the complete ecosystem of Japan will be built here with Indian SMEs. That's how Japanese companies work. So if you understand that theory, that there should be some big company on the top, they will ensure the ecosystem to work. Having done the 𝗚𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗵𝗂𝗍, Japan is the long-term partner. I would also like to say one more thing about complementarity. Ambassador Wadhwa mentioned about it. Now that I am heading an institute, Sushma Swaraj Institute of Foreign Service, I always try to create frameworks so that we remember it for a lifetime. So I will tell you 3 convergences: history, geography, and politics. History, because of historical correct. Out of the 7 deities in Japan, 4 are influenced from India. They are basically derived from India. Ambassador Wadhwa mentioned about 𝗏𝗏𝗃. But 4 are from India. That is historical civilizational connect. When you talk about geography, we have heard the word Indo-Pacific. First time Indo-Pacific was quoted by Prime Minister Abe in December 2007, confluence of the 2 seas, his famous speech in Indian Parliament. Today, Indo-Pacific is the term of geopolitics, but that is what connects India and Japan. When we talk about politics, the leaders meet every year, only 2 countries with whom we have. But now let's talk about complementarities. Process, people, platform. Process. I always said when we launched this India-Japan digital partnership, why this is a very, very important partnership of complementarity, because India brings disruption and transformation, Japan brings Kaizen. Those 2 together are required in the boardroom to make a successful companies. It's the 2 partners of equal strength bringing together. The second is about people, demographic complementarities. India average is 28, Japan 48. There's no more talk required on that particular complementarity. That's why skill development is going to become a big pillar of our partnership. And the third one about, we talked about process, people, and platform. India provides the diversity. So the Hitachi chairman, he hosted us for a dinner, you remember, sir, and he mentioned 3 things I want to change in my boardroom, in every boardroom of Japan. I want more young people in my boardroom. I want more women, and I want people who can actually use computers themselves and not based on somebody younger. So I think this is important that India brings diversity to the boardroom, whereas Japan brings that uniformity of kind of structures. So all these complementarities are ensuring that our business partnerships are going to be very strong as we move forward. So I have no doubt this will remain a very defining partnership for India as well as for Japan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this is an absolute honor and very, very rare chance to have 3 experts, who really served in Japan. Trust me, this is, people talk about Japan without being there, and they served there. So this is, I would like to, if you have any question, you can ask, and you will get really great answer. I can see one hand. Yes, please. And please tell me, sir, for who? Our volunteer, mic, please. Volunteer, mic, please. We have only 2 mics here, so we should be having more mics.
Good afternoon. Wonderful insights from all of you. Thank you so much for that. Ambassador Srivastava, you also mentioned the median age difference, right? 28 and 48. And the skilling sector and the migration from India to Japan, especially in the skilled sector being one of the most important sectors to focus on. But if we look at the current scenario, it's really sad, right? Like to see the number of Indians actively moving to Japan for skilled migration, for jobs. It is not even, I think, in the top 10. And Nepal is almost double the migrants moving from Nepal compared to India. So basically, we are on that mission now. So we are a group of IITians. We've built successful unicorns before. We've built big companies, very tech-heavy companies. And we are confident that we can help in this sector. But we want to understand like what's going wrong, because we've been very successful in Germany. We feel that similar challenges can be overcome in Japan as well, from India to Japan as well. But what are the challenges right now? Why is the India-Japan migration not scaling up? And I would love to have all of your insights on that.
I think you have to understand, like the goods and services, migration also happens based on the natural flows. Now, I was ambassador in Croatia. 4 years back, there were 250 Indians living there. Now there are 16,000. It has happened without actually a government MOU signed. Market forces work on that. Having seen that 16,000 Indians contributing to the economy of Croatia, now they want to sign the e-migrate, what you call migration and mobility agreement. So things are changing very, very big way in Europe. You mentioned about Germany. Just in the last visit, 20,000 quota of the worker visa is now 90,000. Exactly. So that has changed in Europe. Now imagine an Indian worker who has an option to go to Japan versus option to go to Europe, where the things are moving very smoothly. Naturally, the flow will be that side. So one challenge is better opportunities elsewhere. Other is there is a lot of 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗃 required in Japan. You need to have a basic language learning in India before you land up there. N2 level language is required to be able to conversant in your blue-collar job. For nurses, we had established this kind of cooperation that we should have nursing SOPs, but also N2 level Japanese before the nurses go and start working on the day one. So there is a lot of work required there, but again I am saying this work is in the right direction because the complement is such that it will again play itself out despite us. So I think if you are working in that field, congratulations, do more, there will be success around the corner.
Thank you so much.
I couldn't resist with three dignitaries on the stage. I want to pick up the thread of what Ambassador Verma, you talked about. You know, we heard a lot about complementaries, but I think there is a disconnect. And I think when we're doing business, or even when you want to do relationships between both the countries, I think the agility, the speed, somewhere is lacking. Do you think it's more cultural? Because sometimes India, or as Indians, citizens, business owners, we just say, okay, let's do this. And I think Japanese kind of tend to be, I would say, more cautious from a culture point of view. And in your view, what can be done to address this disconnect? Because you're absolutely right that technology markers where patience used to be a virtue before, it's no more. I mean, it's actually become now a hindrance and a disadvantage. So your comments, please.
Thank you. Yeah, it has got to do a lot with the culture. But if you look at a very impatient Japanese societies in 70s, that is how they innovated, and that is how Japan became what it is today. So Japan has also gone through its phase of being very impatient. Japan has also gone through a phase of reverse engineering. Japan has also gone through a phase of not so good at IP protection. So all these things, they have been there. And we are going through these phases. So cultural, yes. Economic, massively. Cultural, they don't want to fail, which used to be excellent somewhere in 2000s, probably not today. If you don't fail, you don't build industry. And why should they change the attitude? If there is an economic gain or a cultural gain or an international gain, yes. But why should they change that mentality? They are satisfied with the facilities that they get in Japan. They are satisfied with their lifestyles. Taking additional risk may increase their resources, expendable income, but probably they don't want it. So therefore, it is both economic and cultural, whereas in India, we have so much of competition, and all of us know very well, that each one is sort of falling over and above the other one. So we are in a different phase of growth and development. Japan had been there some 30 years back. Today it has moved on, and therefore that convergence is missing. What will it take? Now, if you remember how India's IT revolution took place, in hardware we jumped completely 386 revolution. We went from 286 to 486. That is what needs to be done. That the entire cohesive and coalescive path will have to be dumped aside to move ahead. If we follow the process bit by bit, it used to take 10 years, it will continue to take 10 years. So we need to take something out and move ahead. For that, there is need to have a greater understanding of each other's ambitions, which is missing at the moment. It is, we'll have to understand each other's working practices. So other than businesses, a general Indian on the street may not understand that. Then we have to understand the way of thinking. So unless we have been able to tick all these boxes, it is difficult. Earlier, Japan was one of the very few sources of capital goods, very few sources of technology. Today, that is not the situation. So therefore, you will find that the competition has to be on both sides now. Japan is competing with Taiwan, Japan is competing with South Korea, China to a very large extent for the same capital goods. So therefore, a brainstorming needs to be undertaken through track 2 dialogues so that people are more frank and forthcoming. And then such track 2 inputs should be given to track 1, which is the government. And then they should decide what do they want to pick up and implement. But there is a huge connect. And unless we are ready to accept that, we'll not be able to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and really it is delight to hear 3 wonderful who served in Japan. And to felicitate them, I would like to call on stage Amano-san, and Dr. Ramanathan and Ramnik Manji. Please come here and please felicitate our 3 India-Japan ambassadors. Big applause, everyone. Thank you so much, Amanu-san. Thank you so much, Ambassador Wadhwa. And the second is, of course, Mr. Man, please, for Ambassador Verma. Thank you so much. And Dr. Ramanathan, please, for Ambassador Srivastava. Big applause. I think you are hungry. And we all can have a group photo. Amano-san mo koko onegai shimasu. Mr. Man, please. Together, let's take a photo. Amano-san, dozo. Hi.